Hello, everybody, and welcome to this next interview in my series of interviews with Data School alumni. And today I'm speaking with Louza from DS2 way back when. It's nice to chat with you again, Nye.
It's so good to chat with you too, Andy.
Why don't you tell everybody a bit about yourself?
Sure thing. My name is Nye. I very recently graduated. Well, I can't even say recently anymore. It's been almost a year, but I graduated from the Yale School of Management, got my MBA. I've always been obsessed with data in different ways. I really started out in psychology, thought I was going to go for a full PhD. For various reasons that didn't play out. And I ended up deciding to be a bit more frontline. I decided that I think working with businesses and trying to understand the problems that they had with data was maybe more of an immediate result, or I guess you didn't have to wait the long period of time to see
like a PhD,
kind of
right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And then beyond a PhD is you got to get the approvals for things, then you got to test for several.
Yeah.
I just kind of said business would be the place for me, so that's how I ended up in London. Did my first master's there. It was an MSc in management. And then that's really where I started to see how data would be used in this kind of like day-to-day way.
Okay.
Got really lucky, ended up finding a job with the information lab and the data school. And that was the first time I ever touched Tableau. That was really the first time I ever touched data beyond this very like stats oriented way of working with data. Loved it. Still love it. I did the data school program, and I mean, I can go into more detail about that later, but it was incredible. And then while I was doing when I completed the data school, while I was working with UBS ended up hiring me right after I completed that program. And like I said, I still loved it, but I think I started to realize that a lot of times questions that people were asking me, I didn't really understand why they were asking me those questions, or I just didn't have the bigger picture of how the data could be impactful. And so that's where I said, okay, I think my first master's degree really gave me the vocabulary for business, but I really needed to understand the grammatical structure, and I needed to be able to write a novel with it and really understand the bigger picture of it. So that's ultimately why I ended up doing my MBA. And so here we are today. I've completed it. And I'm working as a consultant at PwC with their banking and capital markets division.
That's an amazing journey. So going back to your master's in London, how did you even find out about the data school in the first place? Because we were just getting started then.
Oh, it was bananas. I still have this email. It was sent. There was like a student recruiting newsletter. And it was like right after I graduated from that first program. It said something like, we're looking for people to learn these skills that are in really high demand, and we're going to pay you to learn these skills. And I was like, I remember reading it and just being like, what is the catch? Like, you're going to pay me to learn more? Because I loved being a student. I loved it.
That's like, one of our biggest problems, actually, when we got started, was people thinking it was some kind of scam.
Right. I was like, I'm just going to try this and see what happens. And the moment they ask for my credit card information, I'll just bail.
What advice do you have for people that are considering applying for the data school?
What data school does that is very unique is they give feedback. It's not like you're sending this application out into the void and people are just going to be like, okay, I'm going to ignore you. I think there's this genuine kind of want for people who have the talent and maybe don't have the skill at the moment, but could have the skill. There's this genuine kind of desire for them to succeed. And so I say, just do it imperfectly, but do it.
What advice do you have people then while they're actually in training to make the most of it?
So while you're in training, I think fail as much as you can. There's like the saying, like fail fail
fast.
Yeah. Recover faster or something like that. Because it's a safe space. And again, like it kind of goes back to this feeling of like, you're probably going to be comparing yourself to a lot of people. You're going to see people who have done the program, done amazing things, and you're going to think, oh, I can't do that. Oh, it's going to be terrible. But that's, everybody's gone through their process. Everybody has gone through a process of failure. But the point is that you've been able to learn from that. So I would say, don't worry too much about it, and actually very intentionally try to fail. Try things that you're like, oh, I could never do this. I would suck at this. Do it anyways. Because you might learn something about a niche within data visualization that you're actually really interested in, that you feel really passionate about. And, it goes into this whole debate of like, should you be a generalist or a specialist? I don't really know where I sit on that debate, but the point is like, try it out, because you never know where your interests are going to go and where your skill set is going to go.
Yeah. Did you suffer from imposter syndrome while you were in training?
1,000%. 1,000%. I was always like, oh my God, this person did this amazing dashboard. Why couldn't I do something? And then it's like, it's so obvious. You're like, yeah, like that's how you would visualize that. And why did I do that?
Yeah. How'd you get over it?
I honestly, I never did. I still have it. And I think it's something that, to overcome it, I think sometimes like if you don't overcome it, you feel like even more of a failure and you feel like even more of an imposter. So like, I don't try to overcome it
Snowballs.
anymore. Yeah, exactly. I'm just going to let it be. It's my little gremlin. It's my little like whiny voice that's like telling me I can't do things.
Yeah.
And I just like do it anyways. It's that whole concept of like, do it imperfectly.
What were your job prospects like when you finished your placements?
I had lots of offers. And so I had choice that I never really had before, which like
you had the power now.
Yeah, exactly. And it felt like, oh my gosh, like I have to make this big decision. And what was interesting about the options I had is they were all so different.
Right.
I wasn't really pigeonholed at that point.
Now that you're kind of a grown up out in the real world, do you feel like the data school training that we put you through has helped set you up for success?
1,000%. I mean, I think it's something I'm kind of intrigued by why it's not done more with other companies or other industries, or like the whole concept of it is you're learning in a safe space, and you're learning skills that are in demand.
Right.
I would say some of the things I learned from the data school weren't necessarily, technical skills. It was learning how to learn. I've continued to do that process for myself, even without being in school, because I think sometimes school can have like a very structured way of learning that when you're in the real world, you don't necessarily have the same kind of structure and walls of like a schedule. You might be doing a million other things. You're doing your job. You're trying. And so how do you learn while you are employed, while you are an adult, without being in school? I think that's the one thing that the data school really helped me get really good with is learning how to learn, and not just in school, learning how to learn in the real adult world.
And how are you influencing others now?
I do it in my day-to-day. I think I am so in love with data as a concept, and with just this magic that happens when I show someone something that's like really quick and easy to do in Tableau, and they just like, there's this moment where they just go bing, and they're like, it's that, oh, like I didn't know that, and they're like, wait, how'd you do that?
Yeah, do that again. Do that again.
And so I love to just show people how simple it can be. It's really not. I mean, I even though I was really into data, like from a very young age, I thought I was terrible at math. And like those two things seem very like incompatible. I think especially for femme folks, for women, we're kind of told that we're not good at this kind of stuff. And I really want to push back on that and be like, it's not it's not that hard, A, and B, that's complete and utter bulldoggy that an entire group of people would be considered not good at this.
So, but that also kind of goes back to our recruiting, right? If you go all the way back to the beginning of our chat and think about your background, you wouldn't have been a typical candidate for a data related job.
Exactly.
And most of the people we hire actually aren't. There's very few people that we hire that have a math background or, a stats background or something like that. We have a lot of people with humanities backgrounds. Yep. So I think that's one of the things that I've always appreciated about our application processes, because we don't ask for CVs. You're going to naturally get a very diverse group of people.
Exactly.
And your group in particular was very, very diverse. Nobody was anywhere near the same as each other. How do you think that helped you during your training?
I think when we would get data because we were using, we would have client data, right? Because we would have these like test projects that we would practice with. sometimes people would ask questions that I had no inkling that it could be a question. And it was just because they had a background in medicine or
Right.
in finance or in research. And so it was really cool to see that, because you get this perspective of like, okay, so maybe the question doesn't lead anywhere, but it's just like, okay, this is another thing that I could ask. And I can ask it of the data that comes in the future. And you start to kind of create this library of questions that you can pull out for any kind of project, for any kind of industry.
Great. Well, thank you very much for your time. I just have one more question for you. What words of wisdom do you have for DS30 who started this week?
You're in a really safe space. You're with people who have been through this. You got access to a network of people, not just like who are currently involved with the data school and with Till, but alumni like myself who are more than happy to have conversations with you. We're more than happy to tell you, what to watch out for. Don't feel the pressure to succeed. It'll just come naturally. Just accept that you're going to fail, learn when it happens, and move on.
Okay. Well, thanks very much for your time, Nai, and I will hopefully see you soon.
For sure.